Welcome back to Pragmatic Bodybuilding. Today, I want to touch on is the WNBF California Muscle Mayhem that happened on July 20th. The Muscle Mayhem, this show is my home away from home. The very first time I did this show was back in 1999. I have a rich history with this show. I've attended or competed or coached at this show almost every single year, and I always encourage my athletes to target this show because of how well ran it is, but also the people who run it, Bob Bell and Tina Smith. They have a passion and a love for the sport. They care about the athletes, and they really want to see, of course, the WNBF grow, but they also want to ensure that all of us are having the best platform possible to express our journey. And for me as an athlete, I always wanted to win this show because of what it means to me. Unfortunately, I haven't done that. I've come close as an amateur. I was one bodybuilder short of winning the pro division. Sam Okanola definitely handed me a defeat. He definitely deserved to win. Just a tremendous athlete and tremendous person. But this show just has so much meaning to me. Even last year, I got the Lifetime Achievement Award presented to me for the body of work that I've done at this show, as well as what we've done here at 3D Muscle Journey. So just super proud of what we've accomplished at 3D Muscle Journey, but also the Muscle Mayhem has accomplished throughout the years. And again, it's arguably the most competitive and tough show on the West Coast and the best experience as well. So I coached Dan Macio to the show, and we had 29 weeks to get ready for this. We only had 3 major adjustments to his prep. And the thing about Dan is he's rock solid when it comes to his precision and the consistency. Early in the prep, we had to hone in on a couple little things to make sure the protocols were being followed exactly as I wanted. But once we got the ball rolling with that, we went 11 weeks without having to make any adjustments. And the first adjustment was going from about 2,000 calories down to 1,700 with one refeed. His step count throughout the entirety of the prep was around 10 to 14,000 steps. We did really well for the first 11 weeks. No major adjustments at all. And the thing about not having any adjustments, it just is a lot easier as far as the stress levels. Fall into your daily routine pretty well because it's nice and consistent. We're not making too many adjustments. And even if, let's say, the progress really wasn't moving too well, just the fact that you're staying consistent and precise with things, it's going to tell you whether the protocol is working or it's not working. When you're really inconsistent with your protocol, and sometimes when your emotions are kind of all over the place, you're a little insecure, you're eager, you're wanting that progress, so you try to maneuver too many things at once, and then it's hard to discern what is working and what isn't working. So again, with Dan being super precise and consistent, it made my job pretty easy because once we did hit that plateau, about 11 weeks in, we knew we needed to make that adjustment, and we went ahead and dropped the calories. Another 13 weeks went by where we didn't have to do anything. So we just went on autopilot for the next 13 weeks, and we had to make another adjustment 24 weeks in, and the calories went from 1,700 down to 1,500 for that last dig to get him in elite level conditioning. And that dig was about 3 weeks long. He'll be the first to admit it wasn't easy. We were pushing him a bit. Of course, you're going to be more hungry. You're going to be a little lethargic at times, but he sucked it up and he kept the goal, and we got that conditioning that we were looking for. I made the decision about 3 weeks later to bring the calories up from 1,500 to 2,000. We got the conditioning in. We just wanted to make sure he was getting to stage, filled back out, having good energy, and he wasn't in zombie mode when he was up on stage. So I brought those calories up. His physique started to fill up. Of course, energy started to pick back up. Training was feeling a little bit better. And then as we headed into peak week, things were very consistent. We had 5 low days at 2,000. We had his high days around 2,500 calories, which was 2 a week. So heading into peak week, we did more of the same. We had a couple of high days on Thursday, Friday, basically the same as what we usually do for his refeed days. We knew what to expect from that. He peaked super well. And on the posing side of things, had a few live posing sessions to make sure his positioning, his posture was on point, walking him through how to be poised and graceful up there versus over flexing and using a lot of energy and that type of thing. He came into the show just really prepared. He was dialed in, and he executed extremely well. He got rewarded, won the novice bodybuilding division, which wasn't really expected. The goal for him was more open men's physique. That's where his heart was really at, but he wanted to experience bodybuilding side of things. He just wanted to see where he stood with that, just to have fun with it. Then in the open men's physique, tough lineup for his first ever show to get second in an open class in men's physique at the Muscle Mayhem. That speaks volumes to his potential in the future. So congratulations, Dan, on a terrific showing. Okay, so we got to talk about my man Leo next. Now, this guy is a machine. We've been working together for 7 years. This is our third prep together, and this is our third time doing the Muscle Mayhem. The first time as a junior, I think he placed third in the open lightweight. He got fourth, and to say he was a lightweight in the past is mind-boggling. Now he's up on stage weighing a pretty stout 180 pounds. It's crazy how much size he has put on. In the offseason, accrued a ton of muscle. He got up to about 215 pounds. He's around 5'9", 5'10" inches, and he was eating touch over 5,000 calories per day. And we started the prep in January. Started out around 3,500 calories with no refeeds. That lasted for about 2 months. 8 weeks later, that's where we made our first adjustment, going down to 3,000 calories, 6 days out of the week. And then we had that one refeed around 3,500 calories. And that lasted 6 weeks. And then we had to make one small adjustment, taking his calories down to 2,800, leaving that refeed alone at 3,500. Then about 6 weeks later, we made our last push towards elite level conditioning, and we dropped the calories down from 28 to 2,600 calories, and we were running that 5 days out of the week, and we had 2 refeeds around 3,500 calories, because at that point, the fatigue levels were starting to creep up a little bit, and I wanted to make sure he wasn't getting too tapped out. Training was going well. We weren't just digging too hard to where it was sacrificing any hard-earned muscle. Eventually, we got towards the Hercules. It was more of a, last-second decision. We were going to bypass this show and put our marbles into the Mayhem, but he had some unfinished business at the Hercules. In 22, he was one bodybuilder short of winning his pro card at that show. So he just had some unfinished business, and it paid off. He went to New York, he got his pro card. We were going into the Mayhem now as a pro, and we were eating up after the Hercules because he kept getting better and leaner the more food we were throwing at him, but eventually started to spill over a little bit. He was getting a little too full. And then we learned the Mayhem, the pros, I think there was 2 other pros that were going to be competing against him. They pulled out of the show. So unfortunately, he had to go up there by himself. And once we got word with that, then I realized, okay, we don't need to push him too hard. Just have him looking really presentable, have a great experience up there, get that stage experience, have fun posing, and then we save him for World. The big goal now, and I feel like he has the potential to possibly crack top 5. But he handled himself like a tremendous pro up there by himself. It's not easy to be up there by yourself, but the judges, they gave him his due. They let him be up there quite a while. He posed really well. He had fun with his routine. Again, hats off to Leo for being the seasoned pro that he is, even though he's just a newly pro. Now we head over to Brad Lumis. Been, doing this bodybuilding thing for a very long time, but he hasn't competed in 10 years. It was an honor to be able to coach Brad the last 5 weeks of his prep. I really wanted him to buckle down and tighten up the last 5 weeks. I wanted him to take it to another level and bring the Brad Lumis elite level conditioning we all know Brad for. At 52 and being away from the stage for 10 years, I think he was kind of feeling like, hey, this is pretty good. I'm 52, haven't done this in a long time. I'm pretty content with how I'm looking. He just wanted to have a really great experience, have fun. Of course, the competitive side in me challenged him a little bit. I said, all right, Brad, we're going to track all calories, but we're going to track it to 1700. Like everything's included in that 1700. And we're going to make it a point to be consistent on hitting 10,000 steps per day. Of course, he was on board with it. He was precise, very consistent. About 3 weeks later, we got the conditioning that we were looking for. We dropped about 2 or 3 more pounds, and that's all it took. He was conditioned. At that point, I decided to up his calories. So we went from around 1700, brought him up to 2000, and more specific with the macro breakdown, because prior to that, it was kind of hitting a protein, flexing the fats and carbs, but I really wanted to make sure his physique was filling out properly. So I made sure that the carbs were coming up, and it did the trick. Like he filled out, and I think with having a little more carbs there, a little more pop in his step when it comes to the gym training and just moving around about his day. So I think it's pretty important. We are a little more rigid with our macro breakdown at specific points of a prep, of a cut. Context does matter. So that helped out a lot. And also with his training, had him toss out a lot of the lengthened partials. As he was doing it towards the end of his sets, he's kind of extending those sets out. When you're 3 weeks out, 5 weeks out, you're in a deficit, you're super lean, like chances of you building muscle is very, very slim, or it's basically non-existent. So to be doing these higher intensity type techniques using energy up, and it's going to be hard to recover from it. So I figured, hey, let's just remove that. Muscle really isn't going to go anywhere because you're still going to be training to the appropriate proximity to failure, but getting through the training session is probably going to be a little bit more efficient, and the recovery is going to be better. And then as far as the peak week, because we brought those calories up around a couple weeks before, we had a couple of refeed days, around 350 carbs, which is about 100 carbs over his low days. We took some visuals around those 2 refeeds the weekend before the show. He looked awesome going through that process. He kept getting better with more carbs coming in. So I knew a couple of days at 350 grams of carbs, it was about right, but I felt like we could probably push that a little bit higher Thursday and Friday leading into the show. So we went with around 400 grams of carbs on those days, and he woke up just looking right where we wanted him, and his energy levels were really good. He was in good spirits. As far as show day, with him and with my other athletes, we don't really need a ton of food to have them look right on show day, because we have the food coming in prior to that. We got the carbs, the glycogen, it's all there. Of course, get some hydration, some water, make sure salt, pre-pump, that type of thing. With a good pump, they all went out there on stage and they crushed it. They brought it. They all had a really good time up there. Couldn't be more proud of them. It's always an honor to have athletes like this. All 3 of them, Dan, Leo, and Brad, are all different levels. Dan is a new competitor, first time on stage. Leo, he's an advanced bodybuilder. He's done this a few times. And Brad, of course, has been doing this forever. So all different levels and with all the same goal, but it's interesting how their approach is and their perspectives are a little bit different from one another, but yet the approach is very similar at the same time. That's really cool as a coach. You get to see each person's journey. As a spectator at a show or even a judge at a show, all you see is the physique. You don't really know what it took for each athlete to get there. Truly, each person, they're bringing their best under the constraints that they're working under, and they're painting their own picture. And I think we should all be appreciative of that. It's not easy to do what these 3 gentlemen have done. You think about all the people on the planet. I think there's maybe over 8 billion people on the planet. So to get on stage, whether we're advanced or we're new to the stage, it's a huge accomplishment just getting up there and crossing that finish line. So I give these guys props, and I appreciate you guys tuning in for a longer video. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you guys hopefully next week.